Good evening, good evening. Welcome to, what's today? June 17th? June 17th. Meeting of the Plymouth Township Zoning Hearing Board. We pledge allegiance to the flag, but somebody stole it, so. Anyway, and I don't think we have any other business, so we can get right to the cases, right? First one is 510 Old Elm Street. Mr. Solicitor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Gregory W. Fusco or Fusco? Fusco, okay. For a variance from Section 802C1 of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to permit a side yard setback of 3.1 feet where 8 feet is required, and to permit an aggregate side yard of 6.2 feet where 20 feet is required. Property is located at 510 Old Elm Street in the D Residential Zoning District.
Counsel?
Okay, we have to swear
Is he
Mr.
counsel?
Fusco.
You're going to be
Your
sworn in.
name, please, sir?
Gregory Fusco.
Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you solemnly swear word from the testimony that you give in this matter?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Gregory B. Fusco, engineer.
Oh, and okay, excellent.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Well, tell us, the board and the members of the public here, what you like to do.
Okay, so, brought some plans. This is how my property is right now. This is the existing house. And then I have an attached garage to the side of the back. Currently, I'm doing a two-story addition that has been approved and I have the permits for. So that portion of the project is right here. Currently, that side yard setback is 3.1 feet from the property line next to me. And then my plan would be to demolish this garage, which is currently 3.1 feet as well from the property line, the edge of the garage. And then build a smaller storage room. I don't want to call it a garage. We don't use it for cars. We don't have a garage door or anything. And then build that so that it's the same distance foot from the side yard. So I know that currently doesn't meet the setback requirements of 8 feet, but my property is very small, and I currently don't meet that on any sides of the property. So that's basically why I'm here to see if I could get this approved.
Mr. Daly, any question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess is the 3.1 feet on your neighbor's side, I guess must be grandfathered in, is that
Right,
correct?
yeah, it's very old.
Yeah.
Property, yeah.
Are your neighbors okay with what you're looking to do?
So nobody is currently living here.
Okay.
The woman is deceased and her kids are, I think, still handling the estate.
Okay.
No one reached out to me, and I haven't seen them in a really long time. My other neighbor has recently renovated his house, and I spoke to him. We get along. He has no issue with.
Okay, good. Okay, no more questions, thank you.
Mr. Perlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you have existing non-conforming already?
Correct.
And then just one question on the addition that's going to, you call it a storage room, you're going to knock down a garage. Will it be considered living space?
No, not at the time of this project. I don't know what our future plans are. It's just right now we would like a bigger backyard for our kids to run around. Right now we just have a little space, so we're kind of almost going to double that by removing the attached garage. So right now I would use it for storage. Whatever I have in this garage right now for storage, I would use in that. So it would be kind of unfinished space.
Will it be two-story or just a one-story?
Kind of, I would say like an attic space, not necessarily an inhabitable second story. I would like to make it structurally sound so you can at least walk up there, but it mainly be for storage.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Ramondo?
So, thank you. So the bigger square is already approved and going ahead with that?
Right, this has.
So we're just here for the little square?
Correct, this one.
Okay, and it's going to be like one story plus attic space?
Correct.
Is it going to be like apex or like flat?
Yeah, like an A-frame.
And then, but no garage door on the front, just a regular door?
No, because I was told if I did a garage door, then I'd have to modify my driveway to line it up. I don't see the point of doing that, so I was just going to have maybe a 6-foot door to be able to bring in big stuff out.
Right. Okay.
So that's the only purpose for it.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
Just looking. So the first part here, the 324 second floor, that's on the existing house, right?
Yes, correct.
And then beyond that, is that just a one floor?
Okay, so.
Not your storage room, but the other,
Right, so the way it is now,
yes.
this part is a prefabricated sunroom. It's demolished
Right.
now. But the plan is to make this a finished room, have the footers, put in the foundation, and then be able to structurally support another bedroom on top. So that's what this represents. An existing bedroom that would increase in size, and then a new bedroom on the second floor,
'Cause
over
that-
top of the new finished room.
I looked at that plan and it says first floor addition and garage. It didn't, that's why I was wondering if that was a two-story or a one-story.
Yeah, so this plan doesn't accurately represent that, but it is a two-story addition in this part. Not the garage, though. The garage wouldn't be
I'm just
a
saying
two-story.
garage would be-
Yeah, they won't be the same height.
Well,
The
that
second
would-
story addition will be probably aligned with the roof line now,
The existing house.
correct? And
Because you've got like a third floor and then a second floor.
Right, and nothing's happening to the third floor either.
Yes, because you have part of your house is 3 stories and then in the back it's 2 stories. It looks like the roof slopes slightly downward.
Right,
And then, so that'll be 2 stories, just continue the 2-story.
right. Continue this two-story here. It'd kind of be like a flat roof, but minor slope, rubber roof.
Sure.
Try to continue the roof line that it is existing right now.
Okay. All right. And you're going to get rid of the garage, and you actually decrease your impervious coverage, if I heard this
Correct.
correctly.
Yeah, the pad that the garage sits on would also be demolished. Yep,
So that helps too. Okay, and there's no deck or anything you plan?
no deck.
I have no further questions.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm a little bit
Standard.
confused because about the use of the addition. I was taking notes, and I heard you say that the new space will be used for storage only, and you'll have a non-inhabitable second story. Now I'm hearing
Oh, no.
bedroom,
No, no, no.
and
It's
I don't, it's not clear to me, for writing the decision purposes, exactly what is going on.
Sure, all right, I'll
Okay,
clarify.
okay.
So, the new addition minus the storage room.
Okay, what's the storage room? Point to that.
Storage room is this
Okay.
little rectangle.
Okay.
From this line over will be a new first floor room, plus like a mud room. And then on top of the new floor, first floor room will be a second bedroom.
Okay. And then that other rectangle is a garage. No,
Don't want to call it a garage. but
one
it's a storage
story.
room. One story storage room.
Okay.
With possibly an attic space for extra storage on top.
So we're going to call it a storage space. And, okay, you don't know what your future plans are, but it's storage only
Correct.
for now. Okay. So what was the quote-unquote non-inhabitable second story that you testified about?
So on top of the storage room, maybe make like an attic space to
Oh,
add more
on top of the
storage.
storage room, okay.
Correct.
Above storage space, okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And just going back to that, the space above the storage space would not be habitable.
Correct.
So there's not going to be an office or you're not going to run
No,
a business
not
out
at
of
the
there.
time. I mean, maybe their future plans will change, but right now it's just for storage.
Okay. But you're not going to run an off, you're not going to run a business out of there.
No. I don't have
People
time
do.
to do an extra business.
Is there anybody from the public who'd like to comment on this application? Seeing no public comment. And Joel, anything? Okay. I guess we can have a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 8, Section 802, point capital C, point 1, to permit a side yard setback of 3.1 feet where 8 is required, where 8 feet is required, and to permit an aggregate side yard of 6.2 feet where 20 feet is required at the property located at 510 Old Elm Street in the D residential zoning district, with all action to be in substantial conformity with the testimony and exhibits provided at this hearing.
Do we want to add the no commercial use?
How about we add to the motion that there be no commercial use of the addition?
That's fine with me, yes. So there will be no commercial use of the addition.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, let's have a vote. Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Acrylic?
in favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a nice addition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
144 Alexander Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Freedom Fence for Greg Kerr. This is the request for a variance from Section 1909 of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to install a fence in the front yard. This property is located at 144 Alexander Drive in the B as in boy residential zoning district, and it has double frontage along both Alexander Drive and Plymouth Road.
You are?
I'm Gregory Kerr.
Sworn in. And you own the property?
Yes.
Please tell the board and the public what it is you'd like to do with your house.
So along that backside of our home, Road, we're doing a new development from the house there. Numerous of my neighbors already put the fence on the backside there. Just kind of following the trend and looking to build the same fence that's currently existing on multiple properties there along that.
And what type of fence is it? 'Cause it doesn't say.
It's a privacy fence, a 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence.
Mr. Daly, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that, it looks like that 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence is is similar to that, to the other fences along that stretch.
That is correct.
And in your development along that stretch. of
Exactly,
Plymouth
yes,
Road.
along that side.
Okay, thanks. And are your neighbors okay with you putting it in?
Yes, and I have approval from the HOA as well.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Acrylic?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You say you have approval from HOA?
Yes.
What does it stand?
Just the homeowner association for everyone in the neighborhood.
I know what HOA is.
Yeah, right.
What does the approval
The
say?
fence company had asked me to just double check with the HOA, make sure everything was okay. They said they didn't need anything in writing, but I did submit the full application
Okay.
through them.
Just clarification, 13 feet off Plymouth Road. Is that the curb?
Well, there is a sidewalk there, so there's the curb, little patch of grass, the sidewalk, and then my property where the fence will be beyond that.
So where does the 13 feet start? You say
So it
Plymouth
would start
Road.
from the curb, it would come back in. Between that 13 feet and the curb, there is a sidewalk.
Okay, so it's the curb, not Plymouth Road. It's really the curb.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
No more questions, thank you.
So
And I
this,
do have a drawing if you guys want.
yeah, so this fence will be in line with all the other fences?
Yes. So how it has to go, I believe it has to be aligned with the property lines, however, it lines up, so it may be slightly, it just goes with the property lines. I think the sidewalk kind of pushes out a little bit in some areas, but it will be aligned with it.
And on each side of you, are they both vinyl fences?
So my neighbor, if you're facing my home, the neighbor to the right does have a fence, we're building off of his fence. My neighbor to the left currently does not have a fence. So ours will come in.
And he has a white vinyl privacy?
Correct.
And you're going to get the same
It's the
fence?
same exact fence.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
And you're going to have a 4-foot gate going back to Plymouth Road?
That's going to be from the sidewalk entrance in, yes.
So you have a rear entrance and 2 entrances on the front.
Correct.
Just to be clear, there's an existing fence, I'm indicating for the record on the plan submitted with the application. It says existing fence. That's your neighbor's
That is-
fence there. And, okay, yes, gotcha. You're building your fence along the full rear, the full left side, then this 5-foot stretch up front to the one side of your house, and you're also adding 9 feet over here.
Correct.
Okay, so you're doing just 3 sides of your
Yes.
property, okay. And it's not coming in front of the house, it's even with the
It'll
house.
be built off, set back, 3-4 feet behind the garage, so it's not going to nothing in front of the property.
Okay.
So your fence is actually slightly back?
Just a little bit from where the garage is.
Okay. Just can't tell from the plan you see.
Yeah.
So, any further questions?
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1909, to install a fence in the front yard, the property located at 144 Alexander Drive in the B residential zoning district. All action to be undertaken in substantial conformity with the testimony and exhibits presented at this hearing.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Crilli?
In favor.
Mr. Romano?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Come on.
Thank you.
Next is 600 Treaty Road.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of David Coyle. He's requesting a variance from Section 1909E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance. He would like to build a 6-foot tall fence 10 feet from the property line along Walton Road, where 40 feet is required. The fence will start in the rear half of the house. We'll hear testimony to that effect. This property is located at 600 Treaty Road in the A residential zoning district.
You are?
Michael Brown.
Okay, not David Coyle.
Nah,
So who are you?
Okay.
good friend of his. We're working on the house together there.
Can't testify. You don't own the property.
You don't
own
own
the
you don't own the
property?
property.
No,
Where's Mr. Coyle?
Florida. You talked to Joel today.
Yeah, he said he was going to send a representation to them.
Well,
That means council.
yeah, not a friend. I don't think that works.
A friend doesn't work.
We're gonna have to continue
You
this.
gotta-
Are you business partners with them?
On other projects, not particularly this one.
Okay.
You got to in this case.
Yeah, we have to hear from the property owner.
We have to hear from the property owner or legal counsel. We
Okay.
have no standing to,
Got it.
What was your name again?
Mike Brown.
guess we need a motion to continue.
Yeah. It would be, if the board's of a mind, it would be a motion to continue this matter to the July, hold please, 15th zoning hearing board meeting at 7 o'clock at the Greater Plymouth Community Center.
We have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Move a second.
Second.
Second vote. Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Crilli?
In favor.
Mr. Ramondo? In favor. The chair votes in favor. Tell Mr. Coyle that he has to be here or send a lawyer, but he should be here even if he sends a lawyer.
Okay.
So,
All right.
and we're scheduled now for
July 15th.
July 15th.
July 15th.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
1850 North Gravers Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of 1850 Gravers PA Property LLC for a variance from Section 1300 of the Plymouth zoning ordinance to allow an indoor recreational establishment for pickleball with an accessory retail shop where that use is otherwise not permitted in the IP Industrial Park zoning district. Property is located at 1850 North Gravers Road. And Ms. Shulsky is here representing the applicant.
Good evening. My name's Deborah Shulsky with the firm of Riley Viper Holland Greco here on behalf of the applicant and landowner, which is 1850 Graver PA Property LLC. I also have some other individuals with me that I'll introduce as we go through our case. And just by way of some very brief background, as this listener indicated, we're here tonight for a use variance for this particular property, which is located in the Industrial Park zoning district. The property is about 5 acres in size, contains an existing approximately 76,000 square foot building with associated parking. The building is partially occupied by Cooney Brothers, which is a plumbing supply light manufacturing use, but the remainder of the property, which is about 40,000 square feet, has been vacant for several years, actually the entirety of the tenure that my client has owned the property. I don't think it's any surprise at the onset of COVID, the repercussions of it really plummeted the office use. I know this township's very familiar with that issue. Having other clients that are currently before the township trying to seek to get some changes in to accommodate the lack of office users. So I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. But good news is we have a viable prospective tenant that we're very excited about. My client's excited about. I know the tenant is excited, the proposed tenant. They're in the process of negotiating a lease with Pickle Place LLC for approximately 26,500 to 27,000 square feet of the building. They're intending to do just internal renovations of the building itself. No site improvements or land development or anything would be required. If the board has no objection, and obviously you can confer with your solicitor, but what I was proposing to do, I mean, we think, and you'll hear some of this through my summary, but we think this is a very benign, innocuous use that it actually is more benign than some of the permitted uses in this industrial zoning district. But I would suggest proceeding with what I call an offer of proof, whereby I would have my witnesses.
May I ask and see if anybody from the public is here?
Like everybody's with me.
Well, I just want to, because if somebody's here who wants to
Agree.
claim
Agree.
standing
Good
and
point.
object,
That's
that's
right.
one thing. It's on you if you want to do it with that.
Right. No, I appreciate your.
Yeah, I think,
Doesn't mean we'll
let the
vote
record
yes.
reflect, nobody is here from the public in support
Public at all.
or in opposition to the,
So,
to the application.
anyway, so you may proceed, yes.
Sure. So what I was going to suggest, and it sounds like the board would be supportive of it, is an offer of proof whereby we would have all the witnesses sworn in. I would essentially summarize what they would testify to. They would affirm it as their own and provide any clarifications or edits if I misrepresent anything. And then they'd be available, obviously, for any specific questions that the board may have of them.
That's fine.
And before I get started, I have some pre-marked goodies for you, so you can just follow along.
Thank you.
So the first witness, I guess we should swear in.
Sure. Christina Kessler. K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A. Kessler. K-E-S-S-L-E-R.
Ethan Check, E-T-H-A-N-C-H-E-C-K.
Stephen Klein, Stephen with a V, Klein, A-L-I-N.
Right here, please. You solemnly swear or affirm
So the first witness that I would summarize is essentially a fact witness, Christina Kessler, who would testify to establish standing and provide background about the subject property and the landowner. Ms. Kessler would testify that she's employed by Sly and Spalding, which is the asset manager for the landowner, 1850 Gravers PA Property LLC, and she would testify that she's authorized to testify on behalf of the landowner this evening. The deed evidencing the ownership of the property is marked in your package as Exhibit A3. Now, Ms. Kessler would testify that the applicant has owned the property since August of 2021, and since taken ownership has made significant improvements in infrastructure upgrades to the property, totaling approximately $1.5 million. At that time, before the economic change, they had some interest in a number of life science users and other office users. She would also testify that other than the one tenant space occupied by Cooney Brothers, which is a plumbing supply and light manufacturing company, the remainder of the building, which consists of approximately 40,000 square feet, has remained vacant since that time. During the last 3 years, Ms. Kessler would testify that they've been actively marketing the property to try and lease to prospective tenants. Some of those marketing efforts include having the property publicly listed, email blasts, brochures, some creative marketing material, including a dedicated website and a 360 virtual tour. The owners will market the property for all of the uses that are allowed in the industrial zoning district, including the biotech, the life science, and the manufacturing use. As I mentioned, it's no secret that office users are virtually null and void today. Ms. Kessler would further testify that up until recently, they have not had any viable interest from any tenants, but she has been recently negotiating a lease with a current prospective user that we're very excited about, Pickle Place LLC, for the use of approximately 26,500 square feet of space for the pickleball facility and some accessory uses, including pro shop and small retail shop. And lastly, Ms. Kessler would testify that she believes the proposed pickleball use would be compatible with the configuration of the property, the building, and the surrounding area, as well as the existing tenant that's in there currently. Would that essentially summarize your testimony?
Yes.
And do you affirm that as your own?
Yes.
Do you have any corrections or additions?
Minor corrections, Spalding and Sly Investments as ownership. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine.
Do you want me to proceed, or do you have
Oh,
any
no.
questions?
Oh,
first?
I'm just going to have you proceed.
Just go with
You want her to
it.
do the whole thing and then?
Yeah, do the whole
okay.
thing.
Okay, sure.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
The second witness that I would summarize would be Mr. Ethan Check, who would testify that he's the founder of Pickle Place LLC, and he's authorized to appear on behalf of the prospective tenant. Mr. Check would testify that pickleball is a relatively new sport, which is extremely fast-growing sport in the United States. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's a hybrid of tennis, badminton, and ping pong. It's very up-and-coming and very popular in various communities. He first became engaged in this sport because it's very family-oriented, and his entire family has been participating in the sport. And Mr. Check would further testify that there's a very high demand for this type of facility, and there are no close indoor pickleball court facilities in the area that could serve Plymouth Township and the surrounding area. The closest one is in Malvern and Doylestown. There are a few limited outdoor facilities that are within public parks, but nothing that would be indoor that the community could use. Mr. Check would testify that the proposed hours of operation would be Monday through Saturdays 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, the peak hours would be your late morning hours and after 5 o'clock during the weekdays as well as the weekend hours. In terms of the facility itself, the building would contain 9 full-size courts and 3 half-size courts. The amount of people that can play on a court at any time is typically 4 if you're playing doubles or 2 if you're doing singles. There will also be some tournaments on the weekends, and it's predicted that any given time, just really the most people that would be utilizing the facility would be 80 to 90 during that time of tournaments. Now, Mr. Check would further testify that essentially 99% of the time the space is reserved in advance. So, I mean, you could have, depending on the availability, you could have some limited walk-in, but for the most part, they know what to predict. They know how many people are going to be there, and the courts are reserved in advance. So you're not going to have that influx of just traffic in and out without, having reservations. Sometimes they can reserve it online, or there's apps where that can be done. And Mr. Check would further testify that he's familiar with the hours of operation for the existing tenant of the building, Cooney Brothers, who I mentioned, and those hours are 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and would not conflict with the peak hours for the pickleball court facilities. In addition to the pickleball court, the facility would also have an accessory pro shop or small retail shop, which would be consistent with the regular hours of operation. And Mr. Check would further testify that the entirety of the use is going to be within the building, so you're not going to have any concern with noise like some of the outside uses are. And people are starting to be aware of that through some of these, communities. And lastly, Mr. Check would testify that he attended several meetings with the township staff. One that was attended by 2 of the council members, and they were very supportive of the proposed use, and also attended a planning committee meeting last week, and the planning committee had voted to support the application as well, and their letter of support is marked in your package as Exhibit A7. And that would essentially summarize Mr. Check's testimony. Do you affirm that as your own? Do you have any corrections or additions? And the last witness that I would summarize is Mr. Stephen Klein, who would testify that he's a land planner and architect, has a number of years of experience in the field of site design and architecture, and he's been accepted as an expert as a land planner and architect in a number of proceedings before municipal bodies and zoning boards like yourself. His credentials and qualifications are shown on a CV, which we have marked in your package as Exhibit A6. Mr. Klein would testify that he's familiar with the subject property, he's familiar with your zoning ordinance, he's familiar with what's being proposed, as well as the surrounding area. There is an arrow that is marked as Exhibit A4, which depicts the location of the property and some of the surrounding uses. Mr. Klein would also testify that his office prepared the site plan and floor plan, which is marked in your package as Exhibit A5, and that the plan accurately depicts what's being proposed. As I mentioned, the property contains an existing approximately 76,000 square foot building and associated parking. The proposed tenant would be intending to lease approximately 26,500 to 27,500 square feet for purposes of indoor pickleball court and the associated uses that I mentioned. The use will contain 9 full-size courts and 3 half-size courts used for the warm-up area. The proposal simply involves internal renovations of the building itself. It does not involve any external site improvements, no changes to the configuration of parking or green areas. There would also be no changes to any of the dimensional requirements of the property. Mr. Klein would testify that the proposed building is especially conducive for this use because of it's essentially an industrial building. It's got the building spans, clear heights, and the building stock makes it really requiring very limited renovations for this particular use. So it really is ideal for this user. Mr. Klein would also testify that the site plan depicts the amount of parking in terms of the existing and the proposed parking requirements, and that the proposed use is compliant with the applicable ordinance requirements based on categories. Of course, there's no exact category that covers this, but we have coordinated with the zoning officer, who I believe is in agreement with the categories that we used on the plan to demonstrate that it meets the ordinance. In addition, it also meets the needs of the facility. Mr. Klein would testify that in his expert opinion, the parking is more than sufficient to accommodate the existing and proposed uses, especially given the fact that the peak hours are compatible. They're different for the users. And lastly, Mr. Klein would testify that he believes the use is a very good and appropriate adaptive reuse compatible with the existing building, the surrounding area. As I mentioned, this particular building is ideal for this use itself. It's also a little unique about this use because, as we know, when zoning ordinances are drafted 20 years ago, may not have been amended to catch up with modern types of uses. There are similar uses allowed in other zoning districts, but nothing that specifically captures this. And we do think it's an appropriate use in the industrial zoning district. It would be compatible with the character of the neighborhood. It's not going to be obtrusive to any of the nearby neighbors. It's in a fairly great distance from any of the surrounding properties. And that would essentially summarize Mr. Klein's testimony. Do you affirm that as your own? Do you have any questions or additions?
Do you have anything further?
I do not.
Okay. Mr. Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just sort of a question about, almost a procedural question, I guess, and probably directed more toward Mr. Sander. Should this be an application for a special exception rather than a variance?
Well, I don't think the use is this use, an athletic facility or something of that type, is not permitted in this zoning district. So this is a use variance.
Use variance.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We were originally trying to capture it under, you have a catch-all category for a use similar to, but because one of the particular uses prohibits retail use, and your ordinance is a little unusual in that it defines retail use as including recreational services.
Oh, okay. So
that's why it's a use variance.
Okay, thank you. Is this the area of the building that's labeled Suite 400 currently? It's behind the parking area behind the Cooney facility?
That's right.
Okay, sort of a long facade and then curves are, okay.
That's right.
Let's see. And just a question of curiosity, is a Pickle Place a franchise? Is this going to be a one-off?
This is our first location.
Okay. I've also noticed you have toilets listed? Are these shower facilities or are they just restrooms? Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Freeland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple questions. One, you had mentioned office space. I don't see office on existing plan. Is there office in the existing floor
So
plans?
there's a leftover space, so this proposed tenant would be occupying, leaving about, I believe, 20,000 or 12,000 square feet left over. So we calculated, we just based that on the office parking for whoever may go in there in the future.
Are you talking about the not included in scope section on your plan?
Yeah, so on the first floor, where it says not included in scope, which is just below the retail space for the pickleball place.
Right.
That's currently unoccupied office space. And then there's a whole second floor that extends over this not included in scope and also over the pro shop retail space for the pickleball place. There's a whole second floor that's also previously office space that's vacant. That's the 12,000 square feet.
So there's 12,000 square feet of vacant office space that is not part of this request?
Correct.
But it is in your calculation for parking?
It is.
Correct.
Can you, I'm a little confused, can you just walk through the parking requirements, what's existing and what's proposed?
So if you look on the plan ZD2,
Yes.
Z is in Zed, D is in David, 1, I'm sorry, 1, ZD1.
ZD1.
On the left-hand side, on the bottom, there's a parking table.
Yes.
Under allowable, it gives you the requirements within the zoning ordinance currently for the different uses that are listed there. Warehouse is 1 space per 1,000 square feet, office space, and then it gives you a list of the different variables for figuring out office space for parking. Then there's retail space, and then community center. In the middle, it says existing. We currently have 145 spaces on the property. And then on the right-hand side is what's proposed. It's a little confusing because it says existing to remain. So there's warehouse space of 20,498.
That's Cooney, right?
That's Cooney, correct.
That's not changing.
That's not changing.
And
I'm
he
sorry, I
needs,
misspoke. It was-
he
and then
needs
there's
21 spaces, that's all he needs? Or-
Based on your ordinance, it's listed as warehouse, and wholesale is 1 space per 1,000 square feet.
He doesn't have any office in there at Cooney's?
Well, the office would be accessory to the warehouse wholesale space. So it would
Okay.
be factored into that 1 per 1,000 square feet.
Okay,
Then you have office space, and I misspoke, it's 10,356 square feet.
and that's the
That's the vacant office space that's not part of our application.
second floor and first floor?
That portion of the first floor and the second floor.
Okay,
And that is, gross square footage is the 10,356 square feet. Divided by 1,000 is 4.5 spaces. I'm sorry, 4.5, and then it gives you the 47 spaces.
okay,
Then our proposal is I took the entire pro shop area as retail, which is 3,012 square feet, and that yields 19 spaces. And the pickleball courts, we use the community service or similar use to factor in the calculation for that, which was one per 800 square feet, which yields 29 spaces,
okay.
which gives us a total of 116 spaces with all of the uses in the entire building. And we have 145 spaces. It should also be kept in mind that the retail space and the pickleball courts are not really separate uses. We calculated them as separate uses, but they're combined use. So even though we've calculated as separate uses, you almost have the same people coming to both. So there's some extra parking just in that calculation.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ramondo.
Is this going to be like membership based or open to the public?
Well, so it'll be membership based, and you can also book a court if you're not a member. But there's going to be 2 levels of membership, basic and premier. And those will come with different add-ons, such as being able to book courts further in advance, having first dibs on coaching clinics or tournaments, and certain things to that aspect. But it'll be open to everyone, and you don't have to be a member to go on and book a court.
And then will there be leagues?
Yeah, so we've looked into, there's obviously, like Deb mentioned, there's going to be tournaments, and there's also going to be weekly leagues or monthly leagues, depending on different player skill levels.
Age groups? Do you split up by age group?
We plan on offering all different types of groupings, so skill level, age groups, and all different types of stuff.
And any food and beverage or anything?
Nothing beyond a fridge that has water and Gatorade.
Okay, and, all right, good, thank you. No further questions.
I do think that there are some courts closer than where council said. You got Upper Dublin Sports Center, you've got McGarity and Flowertown, so there are pickleball courts that are closer.
So the courts at Upper Dublin are all outdoor. They
Or indoor. Upper
there
Dublin
are
Sports
indoor.
Center is indoor, they got at least 8 courts indoor.
Yeah, it's
McGarity,
not fully-
McGarity.
I don't think it's fully dedicated to pickleball. I think they have the lines
Well,
down.
they
but
have,
the
no, they
lines
have
are on
pickleball courts and tennis courts, both. So, I'm just saying. And McGarity also has pickleball over in Flowertown, so it's not that far at Bradley Point, so you're not the only game in town.
Yeah.
Even after here.
Yeah, we have the 3 courts here.
I also looked at this and found it kind of, just as designed, the shop is way in the back.
No, so the shop is at the entrance. The
It looks
pro
like it's
shop is
back.
right at the entrance.
Because it looks. So I didn't see a door. Oh, way over here? Because it looks like the door is actually over here on this side.
No, so you walk in like where the pro shop area is, and then you kind of go to the left towards the courts.
Because I really don't see a door. I mean, we got office, storage.
If you look at the
Is this the door?
door is right next to the toilet rooms. To the left of the existing toilet rooms.
That little thing?
Yes.
All right. And the other question is, do you have any signage?
Yeah, so we plan on having, I think there's allowance for signage on the side of the building that's towards like the curve of Gravers Road, so we plan on putting signage there.
Talking about when it goes around.
Yeah, that weird, like that boomerang curve. Yeah, on that side.
But you didn't provide any of that, right?
Yeah, we haven't finalized any type of plans.
It's not part of this application,
That's
so
right.
we're not asking for any relief for signage.
So whatever you have. You either have to comply or come back.
Correct.
And that was my other thing, is when I looked at this, I could not figure out where the front was, quite frankly. So,
There is a door, an existing door in the facade. Is that the proposed entrance door?
Yes.
Yeah, like the suite for 100%.
Yeah, we're not changing any openings.
It's a
little
We're
door?
Utilizing the existing openings. for the retail.
This little door?
That's correct.
None of the others that look bigger?
The others would take you into the actual pickleball
Oh, yeah, come into the
location.
courts.
It was not a desirable space. We wanted to utilize the scale of the warehouse space for the pickleball courts, since that's the natural place to put it, and utilize the lower ceilings and the lower portion of the 2-story space for the retail shop. And there was an opportunity for a dedicated door that brings you straight into that space.
And you also note on the plans a party and workshop space?
Yeah, we want people to be able to host company outings or birthday parties as well, so we ordered off the section just like a private room in case you have guests or want to sing happy birthday, things like that.
I have no further questions. Mr. Sander?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to comment? Hearing none. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant variance from Plymouth Township zoning hearing ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1300, to permit an indoor recreational establishment for pickleball with accessory retail shop at the property located at 1850 North Gravers Road in the Industrial Park zoning district. All action to be taken in substantial conformity with the testimony and exhibits presented at this hearing.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Mr. Daly?
In favor?
Mr. Freeling?
In favor.
Mr. Ramondo?
In favor.
Chair votes in favor. Good luck. Looks like a nice evening.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're adjourned. We're adjourned.